Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert, that's Stephen Jensen, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. It is Thursday, August 14th, and as always, there's a lot of things going on in the world of professional wrestling. First, Jensen, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Been very busy at work, as we were talking about before we went live here. Everyone watching the show, just so y'all know, just telling Jeremy as well, hoping to get some more guests on the show. Last couple of weeks, we haven't had any luck with the timing and the scheduling, but just want to let y'all know that I am working on getting more guests for y'all going forward in the future. Also, NFL's pretty much back preseason, so that's been something I've been very excited about. And my Minnesota Vikings are, starting to get some preseason love, it feels like. I don't want there to be too much hype around the Vikings going into the season. You know what I mean? Because that's when I think all the bad luck happens and like too much pressure and all that kind of stuff. But apparently JJ McCarthy looked really good in the Patriots co-practice thing they did today. So anyways, that's pretty much what's going on with me. And also had some really, really close. Don't gamble, kids. Not endorsing it, but I've had a few. So I've had some really good days since last week, actually. I can't really complain too much. I am overall ahead, which I'm happy about. But I had, I think, 3 days in a row now that I was 0.5 away, meaning like within a point or within a hit or within a pitch or whatever. Within 0.5, 3 nights in a row of winning a total of about $3,500. And we're talking like, just pull the pitcher right now. No, he threw one more pitch, and then they pulled him. There goes $1,000. Like that type of level of stuff. So, but it makes it fun. I haven't been a baseball fan since I was since the '90s. I used to love baseball, and I'm all in again. So I've been really enjoying getting back into all these traditional sports in recent years. So I will say that. So any MLB fans in the chat, feel free to put who your favorite players are in the MLB and that kind of stuff, because I actually know who most of y'all are talking about now. The next one's going to be NHL, Jeremy. Next season, I got to commit to, I'm going to need some guidance from you, but I'm going to try to commit more to paying attention to NHL this upcoming season.
I can give you guidance with my team when it comes to NHL because I follow my team very closely. The rest of the hockey, like, I watch it on and off, but I don't pay too much. NBA is the sport where I like know kind of everyone on every team and know what they're doing or what they're capable of. But you do like a lot of parlay stuff because of the stuff that you do, and right?
Well, because of the laws.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like, I live in the state of Georgia. I'm not doing anything illegal at all, so I don't mind talking about it. Like, I do gamble on like traditional sports lines and stuff like that, but to do that, I have to drive like it's between 2 and 2.5 hours away. There's a casino in Murphy, North Carolina that I go to like every couple months. I do like a weekend and or do like a few days of the week or whatever. And so I'm familiar with that side of it as well. I'd like to be able to do that in Georgia. But like, I'm the kind of person where I would never play the lottery. I never, ever like just go and try to do like the Powerball. I do scratch off tickets once a year, and it's because it's like a Christmas tradition where it's like part of like our stocking stuffer is like scratch offs. Like that's it. I'm not into that kind of stuff at all. But the state of Georgia, without getting too much into the weeds about how all this stuff works, the nitty gritty of it is mainly that like states like Georgia. There's others as well, but there's very few at this point. I feel like Georgia being one of them. They want you like wasting your money on the Georgia Lotto and that kind of stuff, and they just like won't legalize actual sports gambling. But you can get around it on certain apps and stuff like that are completely legal, and you're doing parlays, but like they have to be parlays, and you're doing prop picks. Like I can't just choose like the Minnesota Vikings to win a football game, but I can bet on like, you know, JJ McCarthy and Justin Jefferson getting a certain amount of yards type of stuff. So
yeah. That's what I thought you had to do. See, I don't do too many parlays because that's typically how you quickly lose money, because obviously you need more than one thing to go right. So it lessens, that's why the odds are higher, but obviously it lessens your chances because you need more than one thing to go right. I do a lot of prop bets, but it's just singular prop bets. And I do what's called EV betting. If any people are gambling people, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you have no idea about gambling and don't care at all, you won't get any of this, and this is all a waste of time to you. But I typically do like a lot of EV betting, and I use boosts for a lot of the prop bets. But yeah, I can help you with my team when it comes to hockey because I know how they play, and I know kind of what their stats will typically be.
Yeah, delayed grass. This is live, by the way, to confirm that.
Allegedly.
Yeah, it would be impossible for us to be that on the spot with what we just said if it was not live. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, I could have been like, "You're an Avs fan, so I'll like throw something on Joe Sakic." But like since then, I can't really. But I can't. Oh, Adam was it? Something Forsberg.
Peter Forsberg.
Forsberg. That was it.
That's my favorite player. My wife got me this little Peter Forsberg minifigure here. Yeah, so that's my favorite player of all time.
So those were the guys I remember playing as in Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey on the N64, because that was like the squad that was on the Avs back then. So that was a fantastic game. Both of them. There was two of them on the N64, those Wayne Gretzky games. And then I wound up playing NHL Hits was great as well on like the Xbox. Yeah, that was a hell of a game.
We played back when we did Twitch gaming. We played Hits.
That's right. Anyways, I can go down a whole rabbit hole, that kind of stuff. But I couldn't name like a current player, but I could tell you, you know, those random guys from like the 90s.
We got a good squad this year. We'll see. You know, we've had a good squad the past couple of years, and it's resulted in losses to the Dallas Stars in the second round and the first round this past year. So who knows how it's going to play out? But we got a good squad this year, and the basketball team is a championship team that's returning literally everybody. So
there you go.
High hopes. Right,
good for you. Let's do it. Let's talk some wrestling.
Get into some wrestling.
Delayed graps, not AI. We're going to talk about wrestling right now for you.
Allegedly.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Karrion Kross has officially left WWE. His contract expired on Sunday night. I guess Sunday morning. And then he put out a video on Sunday night kind of addressing things. It was a SummerSlam vlog that had the days leading up to SummerSlam and then behind the scenes at SummerSlam. And then he was on Helwani's show on Wednesday and talked more in depth about everything. He says this is not a work, which is what you would expect someone to say, whether it is a work or not a work. He said that he received an offer from WWE the week before contract expiration, so last week, and he was given 24 hours to accept. And the offer, he wanted to talk about the offer. He wanted to go over like metrics and how they got to the value that they got to with the offer. So he did not accept it. It was rescinded, and then he's a free agent. He said that they never made Scarlett another contract offer, and they said that we will deal with her after we deal with you. Obviously, they didn't get a deal done with him, so they didn't do any type of deal with her. He is a free agent. Said some promotions have reached out. AEW has not reached out because they might think it's a work. There could be other reasons why AEW has not reached out. There could be reasons why he may not want to go to AEW. He said multiple times that he wants to return to WWE. He would like to be back in WWE, and he would like to pay this all off with a return to WWE to give the fans what they want. Where do you think this is all leading to? And what do you think is just the situation in general, Jensen?
So on Monday, when I recorded the Weekender over on Fightful Select, I, at that point, said that I thought it was a work. Like, I was leaning towards the whole thing being a work. Now, that's not to discredit someone like Sean and his reporting. Like, I think that Sean's always, with integrity, like, reporting the things that he's being told by reliable sources, and that's why he's the best at what this journalism thing is in wrestling, right? And obviously I'm biased because I'm here at Fightful, but like Sean actually is that guy. So the stuff he's reporting, I absolutely believe. But there's all this quote unquote like new kayfabe that people are like talking about. And a lot of it stems from like, them pulling back the curtain more with the Netflix series recently and that kind of stuff and of course we recently saw a similar situation with Ron Killings leaving the company and coming back with, the support of the fans and that kind of stuff. So part of me, most of me, honestly, on Monday, just a few days ago, was leaning towards not necessarily that like it was all 100% of work, but that like his contract actually was coming up and that they could let it lapse and that technically he would be a free agent, but there was always the intention of, it's similar to the Brian Pillman situation. That's what obviously people are going to compare it to, but like obviously the backfire could be Karrion Kross actually is a free agent, then he just goes to AEW or something and like doesn't actually go back to the WWE. But my whole point is, it was very surprising to me considering the amount of attention he has, how featured he's been on the show, even up until SummerSlam with Sami Zayn. I just didn't expect them to not figure it out to where he'd be staying there. So that's how I felt about it on Monday. If you would have asked me like a percentage, I was like 80% that it's a work, 20% that he's like actually done and like doesn't have a clear path back at the moment. I watched the Helwani interview. I think Ariel Helwani's the man. Like people who followed any of my stuff know that Ariel always huge inspiration for me. I got to interview him years back, and it's like one of the biggest honors that I've ever had, like was being able to interview him. I have the utmost respect for Ariel. And I think that a big reason why I like him so much and other people respect him so much as well is because he can get interviews like he did with Karrion Kross, where they're willing to come in and just straight up say face to face, this is Kevin. This is not a wrestling angle. Like I'm going to give you actual legitimate answers to your questions. Now, could he be working the work? He could, but I don't think he would. It would make him look like a liar, honestly, at that point. Like if you went back on all the stuff he said on Ariel's show and that all was a lie, like he would just look like a liar. Like it wouldn't look like he was working people. But that's all to say. I do think he's going to wind up back in the WWE. Like I just think that there was some sort of big miscommunication between everybody involved, where I think everyone knew his contract was coming up. I think that I don't know how it was all really technically handled backstage. Like I could understand why Karrion would want to know why they got to the number they were at, because he wants to know what his market value is. And I also don't know how rude or amicable any like all of this was, like how these actual conversations went between him and the company when he went into actual free agency. Like because it seems really strange to me that they'd like just take this off the table in 24 hours. Like I'm not saying that they didn't, but like that aspect of it seems weird to me, that they would offer someone a contract and then just give them just one day, unless they really had no intention at all of wanting him to stay there, which is possible. I just don't think that it just doesn't make that much sense to me. Like it doesn't make sense to many people. I don't know why you would just let that guy go. Like I'm not saying you have to give the guy like a humongous push and like all the money in the world, but like you'd think that they'd figure something out with him. I also don't think there's a massive threat of him going to AEW, honestly, either, and that might be part of their mindset.
I don't think there's any threat to him going to AEW, honestly.
So it's all just kind of strange to me. And also, full disclosure, I'll also say this too. I know I'm going on and on, but I'm sure you've already talked about this stuff. And give your opinion on most of this. I I've never been a huge fan of Karrion Kross, like of his actual style. Like I find him to be pretty one-dimensional. I think his most recent run with Sammy was entertaining, and I liked it, and I liked their match at SummerSlam and everything. But I was never a huge fan of him on the indie scene. I did not like his run in NXT because I thought that coincided with the whole NXT 2.0 thing where they totally like switched it up and they just made him like too overpowered, and I didn't think he was as good in the ring as yada yada. That's all to say that I've never been a huge fan of his personally. I don't know if there's people in the WWE who just never bought into him. Someone like Triple H, I don't know. But the fan response and getting like close to 1 million views on like your own YouTube video talking about the stuff, like clearly he has a big fan base and the WWE can make money with that. So it just doesn't make sense to me that they would just see no value in that and just like let him walk.
All right, a couple things. If it's a work, then the stuff on Helwani's show is just going to be he worked, and I don't think people are going to be like, oh, he lied. They're just going to be like, oh, wow, what a great job he did telling this story. And that's what Helwani's going to say. That's what he did with the Rollins stuff. He was like, oh, man, they really got me. They fooled me with the Seth Rollins because he went on Rich Eisen's show, and he had the crutches. Mm-hmm. And even though Helwani talked to Dave about things, and like... But Helwani just played it off like, oh, they did such a great job with the work. So that's all Helwani's going to do if this turns out to be a work. I don't think Helwani's going to be like, he's a liar. I'll never talk to him again. I can't believe he did that on my show. I think Helwani is okay. And maybe I'm just speaking for him, and I'm not trying to. I apologize. But it feels like he is okay being part of the show if that is ultimately what happens. Maybe he will be like, he's a liar. I don't want to talk to him again. I can't believe they use this platform to do that. Also very possible that he does that instead. Well, time will tell, first off, if it's a work, and then if it is, what Helwani's reaction to that is. If it's a work, I said it yesterday on Twitter, but like, I don't know the purpose of it.
Right.
Because the work is... You're going to bring him back to get a good reaction? Okay. He was getting good reactions. Why do you need to do all of this to just have him get a good reaction? Because the people you are working are the people who are online who are already skeptical in the first place. And then you are telling the people online, yeah, my contract expired. They made me an offer and then rescinded it in 24 hours. The communication wasn't very good. They didn't make Scarlett... Like, you're burying the company in the purpose of a work to get a reaction from people who were already like they could have just re-signed you, kept you off television, and then brought you back and still gotten a pretty good reaction because you're part of the company as the We Want Kross chants potentially build, which there were none on Monday, by the way. So if they were hoping to get some type of groundswell for him like they did with Truth, which wasn't a work, but it was part of the show. That didn't actually happen like it did for Truth. So I don't know what it accomplishes if it's a work. Unless you're just trying to work people like Sean and Dave and Mike and Wade. Like, okay, good job.
Is that just the new norm now? Like anybody whose like contract is running out, like just let it actually run out so that like everyone can speculate if it's a work or not. Like that's also confusing to the the companies and other performers. Like Kross was saying on Helwani's show, he was like, there's companies that I think want to reach out to me, but they think this is a work. Like that doesn't benefit wrestlers to like that aren't, you know what I mean? It's like it becomes like a weird like cry wolf situation of like now we have to question every release from now on or contract that doesn't get picked up from now on and wonder if it's just a device to get them over when they return because they're trying to manufacture a big return pop for everybody. I'm right there with you. Like they could have accomplished more by just leaving. I mean, they'd accomplish things in a different way because they're, there is something to be said about, you leave the company, you put up your own YouTube video and it gets like almost 1 million views in a few days. Like, so like clearly like you have value, but it's just a really, it's a weird situation.
And I think you can only do something like this once before people are just not going to buy anything.
Exactly.
Anymore.
That's what I'm saying about the Cry Wolf. It's like,
yeah. And if you pull it off once, like, okay, but then, like you said, if you go to it more and more, people are just like, all right, well, this is kind of lame. Now, just re-sign the person and do good television. What happened to that? What happened to just doing good television instead of trying to fake injuries and fake contract situations to fool people online? People online care about good television. They'll cheer for that. They'll react to that. They'll react to good television characters. You don't need to do all of this online fooling.
Well, if you want him to become a babyface, which he wasn't in his last match, like he was clearly the heel.
Yeah.
If it's becoming an organic thing, or even if you want to keep him a heel, but if you want to continue to like lean into this mixing real life and wrestling, and also using the Hawani show as a device to push storylines, like Paul Heyman said a lot of complimentary things, basically called Karrion Kross like a potential Steve Austin. Like put Karrion Kross in the group with Seth and those guys or something. Like if you want to actually play off real life stuff and that stuff's getting buzz, then like reflect it on TV. Like you don't have to take Kross off television and then, because that's the thing too, is like if he comes back, he's gonna get a pop. People are gonna want to cheer him. So WWE's gonna have to figure out how to book him as a babyface, even though that wasn't their plan to do that. And how's that gonna go? So, and then like TNA, I've seen people mention that. That's like this. It's like this loophole that WWE is like able to use now. Is at least how I look at it. It might be a cynical way of looking at it, but the way I see this is like, if this is their intention, like let's say, almost like facetiously, WWE is like, we don't want to pay Karrion what he thinks he's worth, so we're gonna basically lowball his offer, which is essentially what Karrion said. Like he said he was probably like offered. I can't say I don't want to quote him. He didn't say he was lowballed, but the only reason you would ask questions after getting the offer about how you got to that number is that because you're hoping for more than that. Otherwise, you would see the number and be like, that's a good number. I'm going to sign for that. So like he wants more information so he can make a case of like, oh, okay, well, based on these metrics, either it is fair and I'll take it, or actually I should get more. Anyways, where was I going with that? Sorry, now I'm losing track of where I was going with the contract.
Potentially going to TNA.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, TNA. That's why I knew that was leading to. I was going to mention another company. So the reason I brought all that up is because if WWE doesn't want to pay him the money that he thinks he's worth paying, then he can and it's not just him. There's other performers as well. They essentially can go to TNA, sign with TNA for less money. WWE, it's technically not on WWE's book to pay them, but because they have the working relationship with NXT and TNA /WWE, like they can still continue to use Karrion Kross if they really want to, but now they're not paying him, and that's on TNA for whatever he's making. So, there's also maybe that mindset too of like AEW is probably not going to be interested in him, or vice versa. There might not be interest either way. He'll probably wind up grinding the indies and doing well for himself, or he'll wind up signing with TNA. And if he signs with TNA, great, then we can use him again and we won't have to pay for it.
I think if he signs with TNA, which seems like a logical landing point, that or AAA, because he has a good relationship with Conan, and Scarlett is super over to that audience, at least based on the video that did 35 million views for them, by far their most viewed video. I think if he signs there, yeah, there's a possibility he comes back to WWE. But WWE main roster hasn't exactly used TNA talent, and outside of Mr. Iguana, they haven't really used AAA talent either. I know Psycho Clown was also there with Mr. Iguana, but Mr. Iguana is the guy they clearly have their sights set on as wanting to maybe do a little bit more with.
Well, I saw those puppets.
Yes. So yeah, maybe he could return to NXT, but they're just kind of fine using the TNA guys they're using right now. And if he returns to NXT, fine, but they could have just done that with him on the main roster. But you are right that, okay, yeah, we can use him in NXT now if we want, but TNA's the one kind of footing the bill for him at this point, which is a possibility. I don't think he's going to AEW. I don't think he has interest in going to AEW because he has said it himself. I want to return to WWE. This is where I see myself. This is where I've always seen myself. I don't think AEW has interest in him because he's an older talent. In ring, his ability is not to the level that they want in AEW. Is he a good promo? Yeah. Can he tell some stories? Yeah. They don't have an issue with promos and storytellings as much as people want to try to make it seem like they do. Okay. What they do just isn't as promo and as story based as the in-ring work, which they put a very high premium on. And Kross just doesn't, he's not up to where they need him to be when it comes to the in-ring stuff. And given his age, given his expressed desire to want to be in WWE, given how Tony has kind of been burned by some past WWE talent who have gone to AEW, I can see why it's like, yeah, why are we gonna sign this guy? What benefit is that really going to be to us outside of he has buzz right now, so we can create a little bit of buzz because we bring him in. But then once that dies down, and it'll probably die down quickly. I don't want to downplay Kross's popularity, but usually when it comes to these things, it's a quick high, and then you gotta show sustainability, and we haven't seen him show like real sustainability, at least as a television character. Now, he hasn't been given the full opportunity to do that, but I just don't think he's this name where he comes in, he gives you that big high, and now all of a sudden you've got 100,000 new people watching weekly.
I agree with all of that. And part of like the comparison I think can be made, as far as like the in-ring difference is like, how I was saying I didn't like his NXT run. It was basically for that exact reason why I wouldn't want him in AEW probably, Also, I know she was mentioned throughout the interview and she, I know she plays into the contract as well, but like, has Karrion outright said at any point that Scarlett is like a complete deal breaker? Like, does it have to be both of them or neither of them?
He hasn't outright said she's a deal breaker. I think, look, if I'm a company and I see Scarlett, why wouldn't I say yes? Like, I
get that, but like if they already don't see like the full value in, I'm just thinking out loud. If they're already lowballing Karrion or not giving him what the Karrion thinks he's worth, like I doubt that WWE wants to pay two people for that act.
Oh well, sure. WWE, that it seems pretty clear they wanted to deal with Karrion first, and then they were going to talk about Scarlett. This is where I don't understand the talk with Scarlett and why you wouldn't want her as well, because beautiful women attract viewers. Throughout the course of history, beautiful women have attracted viewers. And she's a beautiful woman who's a very good manager who does her role very well. We haven't seen her in ring in forever. I don't know where she's at as far as in-ring ability at this point. But can she be a very good manager for somebody like Kross? Can she be utilized more as a manager? Because managers are kind of a dying breed. Yes, she can be that valet. I mean, she was called the Smoke Show. She can be a smoke show valet for Karrion Kross, and the act together works. And you're probably going to get some eyeballs because beautiful woman.
I'm not disputing any of that. I mean, it automatically makes Karrion look badass also in like the eyes of like the male viewers. Like, even if like you don't know anything about him, if you've never even seen him wrestle, you see him walking around with her and you're like, damn, dude, like, because she's, like you said, she's a smoke show. But to my point, though, that's the WWE paying two people instead of one for an act they already undervalue. So, like, That's where I think that's the reason I bring it up too, is like, does it ever come to a point where, because I agree with you that them together is a better presentation, but if it comes down to the WWE being like, we want, so not one-to-one, not the same, but kind of like Cody and Brandy, like, you know what I mean? Like when Cody came back, we've only seen Brandy like pop up for like that one WrestleMania entrance. She hasn't really been a part of it. But obviously Cody was okay with that. Like it wasn't like a package deal. Is Karrion like, I don't know. And I'm not saying one answer is right or wrong either, by the way. Like he can go about this however he wants to. Like it's totally within his own right if it is a package deal. But I'm just saying, like, what happens if the WWE contacts him and says, like, you got a lot of buzz, we were wrong, you were right, like let's figure this out. You should get more money than what we offered you previously. Like, let's figure this out. And they figure it out, but they're like, but we don't want Scarlett. We want you alone for this.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Is that a problem?
Yeah. You'd have to ask Karrion Kross that. If that's...
Well, no, it's hypothetical. Like,
no,
none of us can know, obviously. I'm just saying, like, that's another thing we have to consider is, like, if he doesn't return, is that maybe playing a factor into it? Like, I don't know. None of us do.
Yeah. I think with Brandy, I think she was more than okay with not being part of everything. And maybe Scarlett might feel the same way. Is like, all right, they want you back. You go ahead and you do what you need to do. And I will make other means when it comes to that. It also depends on what Scarlett wants to do. Does she want to just come back and be a manager? Does she want to wrestle elsewhere? Because I don't think she's going to wrestle in WWE. So that plays a factor too of what does Scarlett want to do with things.
Sure.
We shall see. Time will tell. I think Triple H is a fan of Karrion Kross. At least he used to be. I mean, he's the one that put him in the position that he put him in in NXT.
Yeah.
And when they came back, Kross has said it, like, they did the deal with Triple H. They talked with him to get the deal done. Now, things have changed a lot with TKO being more involved, Triple H having more responsibilities. I don't know how much kind of one-on-one direct contact he has with talent when it comes to these contract negotiations with everything. If what Kross is saying is true, that he reached out in January to try to be like, all right, let's get the ball rolling on negotiations, that he didn't get a single offer until days before his deal was up, and they gave him 24 hours to accept or it was going to rescind. That screams to me they didn't actually want him.
Yeah.
Because if you actually wanted a guy, you would have hammered something out long before that. Especially if he's reaching out in January to try to get the ball rolling on talks. And January, mind you, he wasn't on television at all. That was before the European tour where he started to kind of get a buzz because he was on Main Event and he started getting good reactions. That was certainly before the post-WrestleMania promo, which garnered him a lot of buzz. Like, if you talk to him in January, his value would have been way below what it would be a week ago. Because a week ago, he had a ton of buzz. So I think they maybe could have made that offer to him in whatever that offer was in January, and could have been a different conversation. And by like, all right, cool. Like, I'm not real. I want to be here. I'll find a way to get utilized. At least now I've got some security for the next however many years, and we can move forward. But yeah, if you're not talking to a guy for months when you know his deal is up, and then you give him an offer, and you don't negotiate the offer, you say 24 hours to accept or it's done. Sounds to me like they don't actually want you there.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, to even put like a 24-hour shot clock on that is like disrespectful in itself, especially if you have questions like he did, like just follow-ups about, hey, this is because another thing that he did say in the interview is that he did not turn down that offer. Like, he got the offer. He had questions about the offer, And by the time, like, he hadn't made a decision within 24 hours, because that's a humongous decision to make about your life, like what you're going to be doing, especially, something like professional wrestling, where you're literally putting your life on the line every time you perform. Like, you're committing to doing that, hundreds of times a year for how many years you're about to sign. That's a decision that I don't think anybody in any situation would make within 24 hours, especially in today's day and age where most people are going to have agents. And there's these, literally within the last couple weeks, humongous TV deals being signed where, like, the trickle down, like, as a talent, like, even just with the new ESPN WWE deal, I would want more than 24 hours if I was negotiating to find out, like, okay, no more, like, it's all switching. How do I get paid? Like, pay-per-view isn't around anymore. ESPN costs this much. Like, I would want to know before I even sign my next deal, like, how does this actually work going forward? Like, how much am I actually expecting to make? That would take more than 24 hours to figure that out alone. So, like, I'm with you completely. It seems like they made him an offer because, it was similar. We've always heard that story. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times about Eric Bischoff apparently, like, lowballing the hell out of Lex Luger to bring him back to WCW from WWF. Like, apparently he offered him like nothing because he really didn't want him, but he was only offering him because he was good friends with Sting. When Luger surprisingly actually took it. Like, that's how it kind of feels like. They kind of threw it across and they were like, if you take it, cool. It's a that amount of money and time is nothing to us. Like, we can throw that away. We can take it or leave it. And if he stayed, he stayed. But those kind of vibes to me.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see if Kross shows up anywhere. He booked a convention appearance for November, so something to keep an eye on, that he's booking that far out when it comes to a convention. Obviously, he could easily get pulled from a convention. He could easily make the convention dates, even if he's signed with WWE. But just something to keep an eye on as he potentially announces things.
My final conclusion on that is that I do think, ultimately, even saying all that, I do think he's going to return to the WWE. I just don't know how long it's going to take. I don't think it's going to be that long, honestly. Like, I think they're going to figure this out, honestly, in the long run. But anyway,
and it's possible. It's possible. I don't know what value they see in him. And again, based on the deal that they offered him, I don't think they see the value. It's not like he was on television a ton leading up to anything over the past year. He did this stuff with AOP, then was off television for most of post-WrestleMania until they did the stuff with the Wyatts. And then he was off television, and then unfortunately AOP got released. And then he did garner a buzz. The stuff with AJ was okay. The stuff with Sammy, the segments were fine. The ring work wasn't great. And then it ended in a kind of a giant dud because they just went with the most boring finish they could go with. I just don't know how much they see in him.
But after all that, and since leaving, what I think they're going to take notice of is 1 million views on YouTube and having just, like, having a lot of kind of like buzz outside, having #1 selling book right now. Like, WWE is so concerned. I mean, the opening of SummerSlam was Drewski just, like, talking about, make sure you're live reacting to all this stuff. Like, but my point is, like, they pay attention to social media numbers now more than ever. And Karrion has just now proved he can pull numbers without the company. And, like, there's value in that.
I agree with you. Here's my pushback on that. He's getting this buzz on his own, which is great. But they're still talking about WWE and they're still talking about him, right? Sure. That'll eventually die down, especially if he doesn't pop up anywhere big. And I think they think AEW is not really a threat,
right,
for the reasons we've laid out. And so his options are going to be the Cardona route. You're going to go to Indies and create a buzz
over and over and over.
Like,
okay, Bare Knuckle would have been cool. I know he doesn't want to fight anymore, but like the idea of that was, I would have liked to have seen. He said, for people who don't know what I'm talking about, he apparently was very close to fighting for bare knuckle boxing, BKFC, when he got released the first time after they had him dress up like, that weird gladiator thing when he lost to Jeff Hardy. But sorry. Yeah. I think I'm with you though. Like his options are going to be Indies, TNA, and back to WWE. I think that's pretty much it.
I mean, MLW is a possibility, I guess. But my point to that was, yeah, he's doing well, drawing some numbers and everything. But if they don't have plans, if they don't care to use you, it doesn't really matter if you're drawing these numbers. Natalia's got a #1 book. What are they doing with her on television? Natalia draws a lot of buzz with the blood sport stuff and the social media promos and being Natty Neidhart. She's just Natalia in WWE. Cardona continues to do a bunch of buzz. Joe Hendry goes viral every single time. He's popping out of fridges and just he's kind of doing nothing on the television show. And I understand he's under TNA contract, so how much can they really use him? My point again is these social media numbers are cool and they're nice, and I think for the wrestlers they can point to that and they can be like, look at what I'm doing here. If they don't want to use you, if they don't have actual plans for you, they're not going to use you. It doesn't matter what your buzz online is.
I agree with you about pretty much everyone except for Cardona, but that's a whole other conversation that would take way too long to get into. But I think the reason he has not returned to the WWE has nothing to do. I think it has everything to do with he's so involved in other businesses. Like he has his own toy companies that technically compete with Mattel and so it would be, I think, really hard to. I'm not saying it's impossible. They brought back Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes had AEW and WWE figures on the pegs in retail at the same time. Like he was in the AEW video game while he was in the WWE. Like I'm not saying this stuff's impossible, but I think Cardona in particular is like a way trickier thing to figure out because of all the things you have to license. Yeah,
sure. My point with Kross and Cardona was, what is Kross going to do? The kind of the bar is Cardona, because Cardona did so much, and then Cardona still hasn't been able to return. And you're right that it could be a whole lot trickier, but Cardona, same way, has expressed a lot of desire to return.
Yeah.
So I don't think they care about this kind of social media buzz. Truth is another example. We want truth. Okay, he's back. And then they did nothing with him. And then they literally dropped the serious Ron Killings act because they turned John Cena back to babyface after the buzz that they built up. And it's like, here's comedy or truth. Again, if they don't have plans for you, it does not matter how much you get over. And that's a sad way to put it, honestly, because it should matter. And you're told it matters. You're told the crowd reaction matters. But the booking tells a different story.
Well, to be fair, sometimes it does matter and sometimes it works out, but it's very rare. Like there are the unicorns like a Bryan Danielson or
that was forced upon them, and
No, I know. Yeah, but I'm just saying, but that was literally what we're talking about. It's the same conversation.
But why'd that happen?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of factors, but CM Punk with the company, was that the main one you're thinking of?
That's the biggest one that happened. Because they were just going to put Danielson in the Wyatts and move forward with that, and they had no actual plans with him.
Right, but I'm just saying, it's possible to I'm not saying it happens often. I'm just saying it's not completely impossible for somebody to break through the glass ceiling.
You brought an example up from 12 years ago that.
Well, they didn't see anything in Cody Rhodes when he quit the company, and then he had to completely reinvent himself and start another company, and then come back, and then they finally saw something in him. But I mean, they saw nothing in him before he left.
Yeah.
Same with Drew McIntyre. He had to leave, reinvent himself, came back. He's the man now.
These are the exceptions to the rule.
I agree.
And you are also talking about people who Brian got to that point because CM Punk walked out. Drew was 20-something when he got released. Cody had to go on and start a new company and had to have a fallout that we still don't know all the details about with them. Karrion Kross is 40 and kind of is who he is right now.
Yeah.
He's the rule.
I get what you're saying.
More than the exception.
I get what you're saying.
My WWE spotlight, because I wanted to focus on something on the television show. And look, I thought Raw was fine, but another main event ended in a DQ, and I'm absolutely sick. 4 straight weeks of a main event DQ finish, Jensen. I know you don't watch the weekly product, but
well, I do know that AEW, if we're going to compare the two companies, AEW does like 2 or 3 DQs a year, although we just got that last night. But we won't see another one of those for a long time. So if you don't want DQs, AEW, that's maybe one area that AEW's got WWE with no DQ.
They've got WWE beat completely when it just comes to in-ring in general, but 4 DQs, 4 straight weeks of a DQ in the main event. They do at least want a show regardless. Doesn't matter where it happens on the show, but the main event. So I refuse to talk about Raw on Tuesdays in the Weeds because my new edict is if your show ends in a DQ, if your main event match is a DQ, I'm not talking about your show.
Okay.
Because you're telling me you don't care about your show enough that you want me to cover it by doing a main event DQ finish. Because that's supposed to be the biggest match on the show. That's supposed to be the match you've waited all show for. And you don't give me an actual finish, then I don't care about your show. But I did love the Bayley segment on Raw. Hey, you want to talk about social media views? 2 million views on social media. By far the biggest thing on social media that night. Did you get a chance to watch this vignette?
Yeah, it was like the weird scream in her ears thing. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like somewhat of a character change, but honestly, I want to hear I like the old Bayley with the 2 men and the inflatable. Yeah, the old theme. I'd actually mark out to hear the old theme song and her come out with the side ponytail and stuff like that. I kind of hope it's a Brodus Clay type diversion when for people who might not remember or weren't watching, this had to have been almost at least 10 years ago, maybe 50, at least 10 years ago, whenever they were going to bring back Brodus Clay and they were running these vignettes about how he was this unstoppable monster. And then when he finally came back, he was the Funkasaurus. And it was this is nothing like the videos that we just saw. I'm hoping it's something like that because I actually want to see kind of the old Bayley back, but where do you think this is all going?
I hope she becomes just a psycho killer.
Okay.
I need more murder in my wrestling. I pitched a decapitation on today's In the Weeds. I thought that would be. I wanted Drew to decapitate John Cena and Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber. I thought that would be a very good ending to that show. If they, the heel turn sucked. The John Cena heel turn wasn't good. So a real good ending would have been Drew just taking the sword and lopping their heads off. So I need Bayley with the pickaxe that she murdered the Bayley buddies with. I need her to just start hacking at people. That's what I would like.
Well, we kind of got that whenever the YS6 debuted.
Yeah, that was great. Now they're just doing wrestling matches. That's lame.
TLC matches. Yeah.
Yeah, that's lame as hell.
Yeah.
I don't want to see them wrestle. I watch WWE for the stuff like the Bayley vignettes and for the murder, not the wrestling matches. I want wrestling matches. I watch AEW. I do want my wrestling matches to end clean when you're going to do them, unless a murder is involved. Then you can do a DQ finish. But that's the only way you can do it. Not just, this guy attacks this guy. Stop it. Not attack. Murder.
TNA did that, not in a match, but they killed Eric Young.
Yeah, that ruled.
Now he's back.
Yeah.
But
He's
I
a
mean,
ghost, though.
Yeah, it's wrestling, you know. We have situations like whenever in WCW, was it the Giant that like fell off got pushed off the building?
Giant fell off Cobo Hall. Yeah.
Yeah,
But then he came back later that night, won the world title.
He did. He absolutely did.
I cried. Little Jeremy cried the next morning. I was a Hulkamaniac. I was like, Hulk Hogan lost the title. I don't want to go to school. I was a little baby bitch over Hulk Hogan. Now he's a racist.
Yeah,
now he's not. Now he's not anything. But
well, yeah. Well, I was right there with you, man. I remember it was like Kevin Sullivan is the most evil villain I've ever seen in my life. He's recruited this Giant and all these other people. Like Giant wasn't from WWF, but I didn't know that like because I started watching WCW, so like I'd never seen all these other people from the WWF before, so I just thought they were all just cronies of Kevin Sullivan's. Anyways, it also just happened at MLW. I get my shows confused because like Cruel is in like 4 shows a week that I cover. But it had to have been, it was MLW, him and Dijak. They just did that like this past week also, where they were like fighting like on the top of a building and like, anyways. Yeah, murder is totally like something we might, I doubt we see it in the WWE, but it is something that's utilized in wrestling. And do you, murder aside, do you think that
murder aside?
Well, whether we see murders or not from Bayley, do you think that it's just like that's just what they're doing with her now, is like it's just like a psycho character? Like,
I don't know if she's gonna do like a split personality thing, because like the screaming, and she's saying like it's my fault that like I haven't lost and everything. And yeah, the screaming, it was like a ringing in her ear, and she like plugged her ears and everything. It could very well be like a potential split personality type thing. But I hope it actually goes somewhere, and it's not just we got a cool idea for some vignettes, and then they actually have no follow-up on what this character is going to be, because they do that a lot, and that gets disappointing. No, we'll see. But I thought the vignette was very good. I'm interested in it. I like Bayley as a performer. I think Bayley has a lot to offer, and she feels a little stuck of where she can go, because she's done so much with the Intercontinental title picture, and she's kind of out of that with Lyra and Becky. Like, you can't keep going back to that stuff. Naomi is out right now, not medically cleared. I don't know when she's supposed to be back, if she's supposed to be back. So the world title might be up for grabs. But Io, Rhea, now they're doing stuff with Asuka and Kairi and Io. Like, they're all pretty heavily involved in the world title picture. Stephanie Vaquer is also there. She's owed a title shot at the end of the month. If that happens, we'll see if Naomi gets cleared. I think Bayley's probably better utilized on SmackDown right now, because they just don't have as much going on in their women's division. But it'll be interesting to just see what they end up doing with her, if anything. Hopefully something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not against the idea of like a split personality type thing, like something similar maybe to like Mankind. Not her trying to be like Mankind, but like the idea of where like, you can kind of get a different version of Bayley depending on the situation, kind of thing. Yeah. I like Bayley too, for what it's worth. I've always been a fan of hers. And by the way, she's been in the company for like 15 years or something already. Like, probably, as crazy as that sounds, it's probably pretty close.
Yeah, it's probably pretty close. I'm terrible with time.
So there's also, that's obviously a testament to her talent and her ability to connect with the fans and stay over and stay connected with everyone, that she's been in the company for as long as she has. But the seesaw of that, the flip side, is what you just mentioned, where it's like things can get repetitive. You can kind of get lost in the mix. You can kind of get underappreciated. Obviously, she like not being on WrestleMania, it's all playing into this character, but like missing out on WrestleMania and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully they figure out something good for Bayley going forward. I want to see Bayley keeps to see. I've got a lot of respect for Bayley.
Let's go to AEW.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
Officially announced for Forbidden Door last night, Hangman Page and MJF, a steel cage lights out match with the Death Riders, Jon Moxley, Gabe Kidd, Claudio Castagnoli, and the Young Bucks against Will Ospreay, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Darby Allin, Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi, and Edge and Cope and Christian against Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian, and Kyle Fletcher against Hiromu Takahashi. All those matches were announced last night as Forbidden Door starts to fill up with 4 New Japan talent, a CMLL talent, and a Stardom talent, and everybody else is from AEW.
Yes. So last week we talked about, I had said that I thought that this was going to be the main event for Forbidden Door, but then your reasoning actually made more sense. So I was like, yeah, I think that actually they'll probably wait until All Out and do a New Japan wrestler. So I guess I am kind of surprised that they are going to do MJF and Hangman this quick instead of waiting for All Out and instead of having Hangman defend against the New Japan talent. So that's just kind of a follow-up from our conversation last week. They wound up actually booking this match for Forbidden Door, which is kind of surprising. But I'm obviously totally down for it. The only thing I don't like about the booking, and this isn't anyone's fault, is I love the matchup of MJF and Hangman, and they have so much history with one another. They talked about it last night also, day one AEW guys and stuff. One of the hardest positions you can be in as a pro wrestler. I think I heard maybe some wrestlers talking about this on a podcast recently. I can't remember who. I would give them credit if I can remember who I heard talking about this, but they were right. It's one of the hardest positions you can be in as a wrestler is the first challenger for the new champion, because nobody really buys into you're going to beat the new champion so soon. And you kind of know you're being used as the guy to kickstart this other guy's title reign. So I don't like MJF being in that spot, if that makes sense, because I'd rather see MJF versus Hangman 3-4 months from now, when it's way more likely that MJF would actually beat Hangman potentially. Power Driver Finish says Stevie Richards said that. It was definitely Stevie Richards. Thank you very much, Power Driver, in the chat for reminding me. It was definitely Stevie Richards I heard talk about that. And I think he's 100% right. Obviously, it's cool to be in the title match. It's cool to be in a position where you're in the title match. Probably main eventing the pay-per-view. But it's just really unlikely. And it's very against MJF's character. The way that they pulled this off, I think, was smart. The way that Hangman basically trolled MJF and baited him into using his title shot. He almost tricked him into doing it, because that's really the only thing that makes sense. Because otherwise, with MJF's character, he's the kind of guy who would never call his shot ahead of time. I understand the way that this contract works is you got to sign it ahead of time and all that. But when Christian tried to cash it in, it was right there on the spot, right? So, and also we were saying last week, if both people are going to get title shots at Forbidden Door, then why don't you just make the stipulation at All In that the winners get shots at Forbidden Door? What's the point of having the contracts and having to cash them ahead of time? So those, I guess, are the critiques I kind of have of it. But ultimately, I do think that Hangman and MJF are going to have a fantastic match. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a huge fan of both guys. But as an MJF fan, I would have rather seen them wait on. It's not to say that they couldn't go back to it a little later on and do this again. But the roster is so stacked, and Hangman has all these built-in stories with guys like Ospreay and guys like Swerve and stuff that I don't think they're going to like just keep coming back to MJF over and over. So it kind of feels like, you know, kind of a lose-lose situation for MJF in this one. Like no one's expecting him to win. I don't think he's going to win. And it makes his character look kind of weak because he's such a villain that you feel like he should have been able to outsmart the situation and actually use it to his advantage. But ultimately, like, we're just getting this match straight up. So
it does feel a little rushed, especially when you're doing Athena also cashing in at the same thing. Like I said last week, it would have felt weird to do both of the contract cash-ins at Forbidden Door. One, because why are you going to do contract cash-ins, or if you're just going to do them immediately at the next pay-per-view? What's the purpose of having I get a title shot anytime I want with this contract? Even if you got to sign it beforehand, even if it's not a cash-in situation where you can do it immediately like it was with Christian, it still just feels a little rushed to do them both at the next pay-per-view instead of MJF holding it for a while and still just kind of taunting Hangman with it and being like, yeah, I can do this whenever I want. If I want to call my shot on the Dynamite after Revolution, I can do that. Like, maybe he goes through a Texas death match at Revolution, and then after that he's like, guess what, you're wrestling again on Wednesday for the title. Could have done something like that. Said they're doing it both here. And the other weird part about it is it's Forbidden Door, so typically that's where we get more of the New Japan talent on the show. And like I've been talking about, New Japan is in a weird spot where they don't have a ton of guys you can reliably say, hey, this is kind of our main event guy. And they also are in the middle of the G1, which makes any type of build you want to do kind of non-existent. So it was going to be tough to kind of set up something with this. You were basically just going to hope that Hangman continue. He could have done the story with MJF. They could have continued things, but he still faces a New Japan talent. Maybe MJF says, I've been scouting this guy. This guy is gonna, you know, take you out. He's the top guy from New Japan. Like, you're in for a fight at Forbidden Door. And then MJF introduces Shingo Takagi. Doesn't seem like it fits the bill because Shingo is kind of more babyface, but if he's just getting paid by MJF, we know it's going to be a good match. That's something you could do there. So it was a little weird when they officially announced this, and I like that they set it up well. It was like, oh, they're going to that kind of quickly. The match I'm most interested in, though, is what's going to close the show, I assume, because the lights out matches always close the show.
Right.
This 10-man cage match with about 5 guys who are held together with duct tape. I don't know how this is going to go, but it's going to be something.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, it's Ibushi, Omega, Darby, Tanahashi, and Ospreay versus Claudio, Mox, Young Bucks, and Gabe Kidd. I think I saw it. Didn't Fightful just report like today that Ibushi was staying?
Ibushi reported that. Ibushi reported that he signed a 2-year deal.
I think I must have seen, like, when I was scrolling, I must have seen like a graphic from Fightful talking about it. But good for him. I mean, I hope that he's able to appear way more consistently going forward than what we've gotten up to now. I know obviously he was dealing with health stuff. But yeah, I mean, this match is going to be wild. I'd imagine the Golden Lovers team will win also.
I don't know what to expect from this match because if it's a cage match, which it is, but if it's a traditional cage and you have 10 guys there,
I was wondering the same thing. Yeah.
There's not a lot of room for anybody to do anything. Like, usually they do blood and guts, and that's 2 rings. We saw New Japan. They did a 10-man cage. I think it was 10. It might have been 8, but I'm pretty sure it was 10. United Empire against Bullet Club War Dogs. But they did kind of the Hell in a Cell. There was no roof on top of the cage, but they did sort of the fenced cage, but you had the ringside area to kind of fight around and everything. But yeah, a traditional cage that's up against the ropes and 10 man, I don't know what that looks like. I assume we're going to get fighting outside the ring because it's unsanctioned and it's lights out, so people can just go outside the ring. And AEW has always done, you don't win by escape the cage. They've always done finishes in the cage. So you escape the cage, like, all right, people just follow you out, keep fighting, it's fine. But it's still just a weird look to do 10 man in one cage like that.
We know what they need to do. I mean, they need to construct the WCW triple cage.
Oh,
like
hell
they,
yeah.
Like they need to just, like Will Washington, like just make it happen, dude. Like this is like a rare scenario that I'd be completely for, even though like there's that, I shouldn't even, I mean, obviously I liked it back then. It was like, people can have their own opinions about like Ready to Rumble and like that era of WCW and everything, and like the people and like David Arquette being involved and all that. But like the actual concept of the triple cage is pretty badass. And if you can construct it nowadays with like the better technology where they can actually move around better, do some moves on like, you know, the higher levels and stuff, like I'm just saying, like maybe, because otherwise there's literally no point in having a steel cage match in this scenario because of everything you just mentioned. You're not going to get all 10 of these guys the whole time in the ring together being held in by that steel cage. So all you're doing is, and it's a lights out match. So like, is there even technically like what's the technical way of winning the match? Like it would be by knockout, really, right? Like
I think
knockout or submission. I guess you can win by pinfall because I think OC pinned Adam Cole in a lights out match.
That was like match? Yeah, that was where they. I think I was there for that actually, where they both fell off the top of the thing. Yeah, that was pinfall. Moxley and Omega, wasn't that pinfall? That was lights out.
Well, for the title when Omega pinned him?
No. First, the first time, Full Gear, the same night Cody lost and could no longer challenge for the title. That was lights out, Moxley and Omega.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that ended by pin.
I guess the reason I bring that up is because like, is the stipulation going to be that the pinfall has to take place inside the ring, inside the cage? Because otherwise, like, what's the point of the cage at all?
No, because it's cool.
Well, I'm not saying it's not cool, but it just doesn't make sense in this particular scenario. But hey, maybe we're being a little too close-minded. Maybe they're gonna whip up a triple steel cage, and then there'd be plenty of room for 10 people.
I 100% want a triple steel cage. I think that would be great. That's my favorite match of all time from WCW. Not the David Arquette stuff, although that was fine, but fine in the sense that I liked it. It was fine. But the Doomsday cage match, the Alliance to end Hulkamania against Hogan and Savage, it's my favorite match of all time. So yeah, I would love if they brought that back.
So the finish of this match should be Darby and Mox are at the top of the triple steel cage, at the very top of it, and they're fighting each other, and it looks like Moxley is going to try to throw him off the top or something. And then our boy Sting comes out of nowhere from the top of the arena, comes down to the top, and then him and Darby toss. Mox takes the Chris Canyon bump onto the entrance ramp, breaks through the entrance ramp, and Sting helps Darby, because I still want to see more Sting. So, I'm gonna take the Golden Lovers team, by the way, like in Darby, and I'm gonna take the baby faces to win. And also, it was good to see Ospreay back. It's also interesting seeing the varying timelines for everybody who got their necks snapped. About so that's kind of interesting to keep up with too.
Danielson's out for a year. Joe came back this past week, and Ospreay's just coming back and doing a lights out steel cage match in 2 weeks. Ospreay, by the way, just being like, I got discs that are bulging. My neck's been bothering me for 6 months. It's not good. I hope to be back by Forbidden Door. Anyway, let's do a lights out steel cage match.
Yeah. So, Anything else for that one? There's other matches I'll touch on real quick. So obviously we got to talk about the Adam Copeland, Christian Cage reuniting. This was done so, like, this whole thing was so weird. Like, how all of this has played out. Like, we talked about it last week, even though it was a couple weeks back when Christian cut that really, really bad promo where he kept messing up his own lines, but then trying to blame it on the crowd. He was like, I've never seen Christian fumble around on a microphone like that so bad. You know, he was clearly shook that he kept messing up. And then Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne beat him up, even though he had just cut a heel promo. The heels beat him up. And then, even though, once again, I said it last week, Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian technically should be baby faces in this story because they're finally standing up to this guy who berated them for being fatherless and all this stuff. But nonetheless, we get to where we're at. And we all knew that this was eventually going to lead to Edge and Christian. I'm just going to call them Edge and Christian. The Edge and Christian reuniting. We all knew this is where it was going. We all know that at All Out, it's going to be them and FTR. That's what all roads lead to that. I'd also imagine that FTR will probably win the tag team titles between now and All Out, so that it's a tag team title match is my guess.
Well, they would win them at Forbidden Door.
Oh yeah, over the Hurt Syndicate. Yeah. That's probably exactly what's going to happen. I forgot that there was the tournament going on right now for that. Yes. So, anyways, that's exactly what I think will happen. I think FTR will win the tag team titles at Forbidden Door, and it'll be Edge and Christian versus them, because that's also in Toronto, isn't it? All Out. So that's literally, I mean, the only, I guess, puzzle. Well, I see both sides of this. You have the one school of thought, which would be, why would you even have Edge and Christian reunite and then like have them have any matches before having their have their big return in Toronto, in Canada? Like, why not do it there? But you can also make the argument, you know, if Edge and Christian haven't teamed together in this many years, at least you can say like they beat Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne. So like they have a win heading into a title match versus them like not teaming and forever and just getting a title match in AEW. Not that I think they would need one based on obviously their credentials as Edge and Christian, but y'all know the point I'm trying to make. You can kind of make the argument either way. Like, why would you have them wrestle before Toronto? Well, they are getting a win and then they're getting a title shot. So I kind of see both sides. I think it's obvious they're going to win, obviously, over Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. But I think this whole thing was done like way too. It was all done way too fast. Like the whole turnaround and them hugging it out and reuniting. It is something that just doesn't feel right about it. But I think ultimately we all saw where this was all heading. So, now we're there. So
it was definitely rushed. Like.
Yeah.
Last time we saw Cope talking about Christian, he's like, yeah, he didn't actually apologize. He's still an asshole. I don't have any sympathy for him. And now because he saved him and he handed him Spike, it's like, okay, I guess we're friends again. Which, like, they got 40 years of history. Fine. If they can brothers fight and then brothers set things aside very quickly. So I can forgive it to an extent, but I also believe they could have gotten more out of the actual reunion with this. But they wanted to do a match. I don't even think it's necessarily we want to give Edge and Christian a win. We want to give Cope and Christian a win to get them to do a title shot, because then the argument is like, you beat Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. Like, what's their record as a tag team? Like, who really cares that you beat them? You're better off you don't need to do any type of win. Or you can get them a win on a show leading up to the Toronto show. Because I think maybe they're in Canada. Let me just double check the schedule. I assume
like the Dynamite or a Collision.
Yeah. Dynamite's in London, Ontario, the week of All Out. So could have easily done a match there. Could have done the Kip Sabian Nick Wayne match there to give them kind of a win. But really, it's a story if it's FTR, And the story is FTR against Cope, and then Christian is there, and it's FTR who, in this scenario, are the tag team champions, saying, you're a legendary tag team, you're one of the greatest tag teams ever, we are the greatest tag team ever, and we're going to put you down like your old Yeller to prove it to you. That's it. No one's going to be like, well, why don't... I mean, people will, because they like to just be dicks online. But people truly don't care if Edge and Christian win one match before getting a title shot. I think what this is more about is they wanted to do a match in England because the England crowd's going to go crazy for them. And they wanted to have them both on this show and do the match on this show because I don't know what Christian's plans are. I know Edge is talking about like we know Edge is on kind of the last year or so of his career here. All In is back in Wembley next year. Can they make it to that show? You know, Cope has been injured the last year, so he missed it. Christian's done the match, but again, how often is he gonna stick around and wrestle? So did they think they could? Did they want to risk, hey, we're not gonna have you wrestle this year in London, so we can get to you next year in London, and hopefully we can do a match next year. And you don't know where things are gonna be next year. Like, you know, you have this year. So I think this was more about getting them a match in London than it was getting them a win in a match.
Yeah, like I said, I see both sides of it, and I think that, I mean, I think that they would want to wrestle in London in front of a big crowd to get a big pop. Speaking of that, I do think that AEW needs to just go ahead and stop trying to get the fans to do Edge's theme song. Like I was saying that before he went away with the fake injury. Like there was 1 week, it had to have been on a Dynamite, where they tried doing that, where like they were expecting the fans to like really sing it, and like it was not, like hardly anyone was doing it, or like the building was like empty, like combination of both. And anyway, I would stop doing that. Because like last night was like really like they barely made it, but like a few more people don't pitch in on that, it's gonna start sounding really, really lame. It's gonna get really cringe. And that's not what you want. I've made the reference before, but like the classic Always Sunny episode with The Night Man Cometh, when Mac puts on the cat eyes and he's going for gasps. He's trying to get people to gasp at him, but people are laughing at him. Like that's what I don't want happening to Cope out there, especially in his last year in front of the fans, going out there and standing in the middle of the ring looking like, please sing the song, and then no one starts singing the song. I think that'd be unfortunate. So
whatever happens to Cope is deserved.
Yeah, I forget you have this grudge against him. But anyways,
my grudge is Christian's better.
I know you think that. The early prediction for them in FTR, like, do you think they win the titles from FTR at All Out?
Probably. I don't think they're gonna have a long run or anything, but it feels tough to not give them that run in Toronto, not give them that win in Toronto, and then give them a short little run. I think FTR could legitimately win the titles back by World's End, which would be the next. Full Gear is the next one. That's November. I think they could. They have Wrestle Dream in October. I forgot they've like added.
Yeah, they got way more now. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Wrestle Dream. Legitimately, FTR could win them back by Wrestle Dream in October, and it would not surprise me. But I think they'll at least get the titles at All Out.
I think you're right. Anything else that was added that we want to like deep dive on more? Because obviously we'll do actual predictions like next week. The week of, or yes, next week. Yeah. We can hold off on more thoughts on that unless there's anything else you want to get into.
No, I think that's. I think those are the big matches added for Forbidden Door. We talked about the other matches that have been added previous. I mean, there was Hiromu and Kyle Fletcher. It's cool to see Hiromu on AEW TV, and the match with Kyle Fletcher will be really good.
That's going to be a banger of a match, and I've always been a fan of Hiromu Takahashi. I think that he provides something different. Like, his look's different, his in-ring style is different. I remember years back, he was starting to catch a lot of traction in New Japan, and then like he got like that broken neck on like that nasty spot where he got spiked, and I'll just never forget that, because I felt like he was really on the verge of like massively breaking through. Like, the Daryl cat doll was like massively over also, and anyways, he looked really good on Dynamite last night, and got the win for their team. Yeah, obviously I'm going to predict that Fletcher's going to win the match. We'll talk about that more next week, but like, this is a great booking, doing Fletcher versus Takahashi on that show.
All right, let's go to the other spotlight.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
New Japan G1 Climax 35. The semifinals are set after today's quarterfinals action. On one side of the bracket, we have Yota Tsuji against my guy Evil. And on the other side of the bracket, we have Zack Sabre Jr. against Konosuke Takeshita. Who you got?
Yeah. So I'm going to take Yota Tsuji, and I mean, I really want Takeshita to not only beat ZSJ, but like win the whole thing. Like, I think that'd be really beneficial to like make him as big of a deal as you can in New Japan, for as long as you've got him, in my opinion, especially because AEW's roster is just so loaded. Like, I think that Takeshita has the talent and the look and like the size. He really checks like all the boxes. He's a good looking, like a handsome dude. Like, he's very marketable. Like, and he's fantastic in the ring. Like, for a guy, he's like deceptively big, and for a guy his size, he moves really, really well. And he's really good at, like, his strikes are really crisp. Everything looks really believable. He can fly around if he needs to, but he's also really strong. Even his finisher, like his spin on a Michinoku driver, or I guess it's technically I guess a spinning Michinoku driver. What he's doing is finish what does he call it? The fire
Raging Fire.
I always forget the name of that move. But I mean, just he looks so seamless the way he puts people up and spins them around and everything. Yeah, I want to see him. I just want to see him successful, because like I think that he could definitely, like, he could be an AEW world champion at some point. Like, he very much could be. Like, I think the company is very invested in him, and I think AEW wants big things for him in the future. But like at this time right now, it just seems like the move is just like give him a big push in New Japan. I'd love to see him win the New Japan World Championship. I think it'd be awesome, and it would obviously put him in line if he beat Zack Sabre Jr. and if he won the tournament. So that's my hope. You know, it's nothing against the Yota Tsuji either. He's somebody who we've talked about on the show for years now that like has been on like that brink of like really breaking through the glass ceiling into like the actual like top guy of the company. But if you were to ask me right now, just honest opinion, like if I had a choice, I'd make that guy Takeshita right now personally. So that's who I'm going to go with.
I've been saying they should make Takeshita, but I don't think they are going to make him by winning this tournament. I think Yota Tsuji has been... He was my pick to start the tournament. I think he's going to have the big Tokyo Dome moment at Wrestle Kingdom in January, and I think he's going to win the title from most likely Zach, but I guess it's possible, because I think I was going to go with Zach to win to defeat Takeshita, but SP3 talked me into Takeshita beating Zach and then doing Takeshita and Zach at Power Struggle in November. Maybe Takeshita wins the title from Zach there, because I'm with you. I'd put all the titles on Takeshita because I think he's the best wrestler in the world right now. I just don't know if they're going to do that with... He's also with AEW. how much are you getting him for New Japan? Do they want from November to January, which isn't a super long time, but still, it's still a couple months there. Do they want that title on AEW TV? Because a lot of wrestlers felt a certain way when Moxley held the title and it was on AEW TV. Maybe if it's Takeshita, they'll feel differently depending on how it's booked and everything. But I think they do Zack and Takeshita rematch at Power Struggle after Takeshita beats him here. But I think Tsuji beats Takeshita in the finals.
It'll be a great match. All those are great matches except for if Evil's involved. Boy,
no, Evil.
I'm trying to see that.
I would like Evil to win this whole thing. I have booked a 10-year title reign for Evil.
Oh my god!
But nobody's on board with me here.
If Evil was booked for a 10-year title reign, I think the company would go out of business within 2 years.
See, here's my idea. And I'm not getting enough love for this idea. I am from certain people in the chat. But I'm not getting enough love from SP3.
Oh,
Evil holds
surprising. Someone who covers like New Japan extensively.
He's not hearing me out. He doesn't see the vision here.
Sure, he's the problem. Go ahead.
Listen to the idea, Jensen. Evil holds this new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship that no one really likes. It's the butterfly title. People don't like this title. He holds it for 10 years. He doesn't defend the title once. No title defenses. Maybe even he might wrestle once or twice, but like no title defenses. Who cares? On the other side, Takeshita, he brings back the original IWGP World title, the one everyone loves, the heavyweight title, because they didn't call it the world title, they call it the heavyweight title. The one everyone loves, the one Yota Tsuji, who recently came out and said we should bring back that title and restore the real tradition of the IWGP. So Yota Tsuji sees this as well. Takeshita brings that back. He's making shit tons of title defenses. He's just racking them up. He's defending that shit every week. He's also about to be champion for 10 years. 10 years down the line, Evil, Takeshita, one-on-one to unify the titles. That's my vision.
The other spotlight?
You guys just don't see it. You guys don't see it. You don't see great ideas. I had a tremendous idea today. I mentioned my decapitation idea with Drew.
It's a better idea than this one.
Cody Rhodes dying is a better idea. All right, you heard it from Stephen Jensen.
No, the idea of Bayley committing murders, not the Drew capitations.
I had Kross dying as well because he said he would have been cool with like killing the character at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
So I had him dying, but then coming back with the gimp mask and the strap-ons and having like a dungeon called the Crossfire Dungeon. And they're playing Crossfire. Remember that game in the background?
Crossfire.
Yes,
You'll get caught up in the crossfire. Of course, I remember that. I got that.
So they're playing that in the background. Like Carlito and R-Truth are just playing that in the background. But it's actually like a dungeon, like a torture dungeon. And Kross is like Jigsaw, and he captures like his victims, and they got to decide like, do I cut your arm off to free myself? Are we playing like Russian roulette to see who dies? So whoever gets free. Like that was my idea for this new Karrion Kross character.
I actually like the idea of like a Squid Game type scenario, but the game is Crossfire that everyone's playing. Like you're playing Crossfire for your life.
Right. Okay. We can workshop that. I'm cool with that. UFC's headed to Paramount. Pay-per-view's dead, but Dana White says it's not dead.
That's so funny. Well, so Dana White's saying that right now because ESPN's like, dude, what the fuck? We're still selling like 5 more pay-per-views before this all changes. Wow. So don't tell pay-per-views dead because we're literally trying to sell Duplessis versus Chimaev this weekend on ESPN pay-per-view for like $80. I talked about this. Too much. Well, I literally brought this up like last week on the show because ESPN had just struck the deal with the WWE. And I knew that the UFC was in negotiations. Not just I knew, like it was a known thing that the UFC was negotiating with everyone. What everyone honestly thought was that I shouldn't say everyone, but the most, what I think most people in the know thought was going to happen was it was going to be the UFC probably staying on ESPN platforms, but then they were going to switch the pay-per-view to Netflix or something like that. Like people people thought Netflix was going to be involved, and people did not expect them to completely leave ESPN. But what happened behind the scenes, and I'm bad about remembering people's names, they did this whole merger with Skydance, basically buying Paramount, and it's led to all this other stuff like Colbert and the Trump situation and South Park and what they're doing now, and like all this stuff it's all involved, and it gets really, really deep to explain everything that's been happening. But the short of it, did I lose Jeremy? Did my internet go out, or is Jeremy gone? Oh, Jeremy.
Oh, I'm here.
Hello.
Okay. I could hear you that whole time, but yeah, I did get the circles of death, but I could actually hear you.
Sorry. I was yeah. So I just want to make sure I didn't drop off. But my point is that there's been a lot of big moving pieces right now at Paramount, and the guy who now runs Skydance is some dude who's like not that much older than us. He's like in his early 40s, and within like 48 hours of the Skydance thing going through and then basically like merging / buying Paramount, within like 48 hours of that, this guy had struck a deal with the UFC to bring it all to Paramount, with the idea being that he was essentially buying a sport, because that's pretty much what they're attempting to do. Like everything's going to run off of Paramount now. For the fans, it's awesome. Like I love the idea of paying like $10 or $13 or whatever a month to Paramount. I already have Paramount because I already want it for South Park. There's other stuff on there as well, but you know, to be able, there's a lot that goes hand in hand with all this stuff. And I won't get into all of it today because it'll take too long, but I think it's really interesting that they've gone the route that they have. For one, because you know, they finally abandoned pay-per-view, which is awesome for the fans, like I said. But one thing that they're really trading out is, I saw Ariel Helwani breaking this down. I think he was genius the way he explained all this. And I would have thought about it, but I didn't know the difference was so much. The social media numbers between like all the ESPN / Sports Center like platforms versus anything that has to do with like Paramount Plus, CBS Sports, that kind of stuff, we're talking a difference of like the ESPN brands have like 300 million plus followers versus like the Paramount has like 3 million. I mean, we're like, it's like that big of a difference, where for a company like the UFC and someone like Dana White, who, you know, gets off so much on like how the slap fight, not like his whole argument for slap fight even existing, basically outside of, it's mainly because people can gamble on it. But outside of that, it's because they get massive social media numbers. I don't think that there's a lot, once again, that's the whole other thing to unpack, because how impressive is it really a bunch of brain dead people scrolling through a screen and being like, duh, this guy hit this guy in the face unprotected, duh. You know what? I'll show it to you. I'm going to share this with my, like, there isn't, that's not that impressive, but it gets a lot, it gets big numbers, and they care about that kind of stuff. For them to give up all the social media, because I'm not even on TikTok or like Instagram and stuff, but I know that like ESPN does huge social media numbers still, even though like something like Sports Center and stuff like isn't as important as it used to be, because people have cord cut, not that many people watch ESPN, and compared to like the 90s and early 2000s, their social media more than makes up for that and keeps ESPN super relevant in like the culture. Whereas Paramount Plus just does not have, they're trying to do that though. And that's a big part of this, is they're trying to buy the entire sport of MMA pretty much, specifically the brand of the UFC, which is by far the biggest brand in the sport. So, you know, we're going to see how this all winds up playing out. Once again, for the fans, this is great because it's going to save us a ton of money. I know I explained last week about the lengths I used to have to go to potentially, allegedly find the shows without paying $80 per show. Now you don't have to worry about that. I will gladly pay $10-13 a month and get all the UFC shows. That's a no-brainer to me. And once again, I'm already paying for it to watch South Park. So that's great. And then the other side of it is like, how much is this going to push the UFC to put on better cards or build new stars? That's the other side of this. I'm interested to see how it plays out, because currently, like this weekend, there's the UFC pay-per-view, Chimaev and Duplessis. If hypothetically speaking, God forbid, if like Duplessis falls off the card today, they would scramble their asses off and get a big main event as fast as they could to replace that to some degree, because like they're still trying to sell $80 pay-per-views to people. So they're not going to just not replace that fight or do something to try to make up for that so people buy the show still. If it's Paramount Plus, how many of these shows are going to pretty much be like these fight nights are, where they're not going to really be that incentivized to like put on the big stars. And when the big stars are involved, is that just going to be on regular network, CBS anyway, so you wouldn't even need Paramount Plus to even watch it. So that's kind of counterproductive. Or do they charge more for real pay-per-view? Like Conor McGregor comes back and they're like, this isn't a part of the Paramount thing. Like, you still got to pay like $50 for this one. Like, how is that all going to actually wind up working out is my question, because right now the pay-per-views, even though the business is down, the pay-per-views themselves, the draw is you do get the bigger stars on the pay-per-views than you generally get on the weekly fight nights. But now with it all being all together for the same price, does it water that down even more than it already has been watered down? That is a concern of mine.
But they don't have any stars anyway. So I think you're going to get the big title fights still on the numbered shows, because you still got to sell tickets. Like, okay, pay-per-view is one thing, but you still got to sell tickets to these shows. And so the big numbered shows are still going to be held in big arenas, and you still want to draw and charge as much money as possible for those. And the fight nights are going to be less important. I think they got a better chance to actually build some stars through this system, because now everybody can watch everything without having to pay $80 for it all. And that would theoretically make things a lot easier and make things a lot more accessible of like, oh, I just saw him on the fight night. Now he's on this show. Oh, I can watch this show without having to pay $80 for this. Oh, I just saw him on the pay-per-view. He put on, now he's headlining this fight night show. Okay, I want to watch this fight night show now. I think they're in a better position to build some stars with it, because right now they don't have anybody. I don't know what their pay-per-view business is, because the numbers aren't out there. You don't see a whole lot of buzz online for stuff. And I think if their pay-per-view numbers were good, Dana White would be telling the world they were good, and they probably wouldn't have to go to something like this, because boxing's doing the same thing. Canelo and Crawford, that's a big pay-per-view fight that probably could have sold a lot of pay-per-views. It's just on Netflix. You just get it for free on Netflix.
Well, for $10 or whatever, not free, but I know what you mean.
Right.
But
it's
way cheaper than it was before. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's included with, you could, if you want to watch Breaking Bad, you could also watch the UFC, or you could watch WWE Raw, and this will all be included. I understand what you're saying. But I think the big problem is the pirating. Like, it really is. Like, and that's what I think that they're trying to combat now, is like, you just can't get away now with how easy it is to get this stuff for free. You just can't, no one's going to, the biggest fans in the world aren't paying $80 a month for these shows. And even when it was $50 a month, it was a stretch, but like, I think more people were willing to do it, or at least willing to have like a watch party. And that was also, that goes hand in hand with having bigger stars. Like, it was way more likely a handful of years ago, you'd pay, $50 or whatever, and like have your buddies over, order a pizza and like watch John Jones. You know what I mean? Like, cause it was worth that $50 for everyone to come over, pitch in 10 or whatever. Now all of a sudden it's like, you got to pay for ESPN Plus every month, plus another like $80 for the actual show. And you're probably not going to get that many stars on that show. You might get some dud fights. People aren't that interested. So like there's, and once again, on top of all of that, it's just like, I can just find it for free in like 1080p quality. Like, why would I spend $80 on this when I can get it for free? Whereas I can be like, you know what? $10 a month, $10 pay-per-view, no problem. That's 100% worth me giving you $10 a month, or even if it was a little bit more. I'd pay 20, maybe even 30 a month, honestly, for Paramount Plus, because I think that's how much value I would get for something like that. Like, you know, like I'd be willing to pay even more than I already, not that I want to, but like, you know, some of these services, I'm not even, once again, like even with Peacock and stuff, there's certain services I'm not even like necessarily opposed to paying more money for if you're giving me that much more value. You're telling me I no longer have to pay $80 a month for something I want to watch.
You're going to start paying $80 a month if you're willing to pay more for all these services.
Well, but so, and I'm also in a situation where I cord cut off of cable in probably 2011. I mean, so like this is the era that I've been kind of like prepared for anyways. Like I've already got a good system of like, I have the apps that I need, and like that may become more, that may become less. Like I used to pay for HBO Max, then they lost South Park, so I don't pay for HBO Max anymore. And I already have access to watching Dynamite through the TBS app, which I can get through having a Xfinity login, which I don't necessarily have to have Xfinity for. So like there's ways. This is good for me because it winds up this winds up costing me way less to get everything that I want, including the UFC. So now there's a whole other argument that could be made that we don't have to get into, that would take really long to talk about, that eventually it's all going to maybe horseshoe, and like it's going to turn into like Disney just like owning everything. And then we're going to be right back to square one, where you're basically buying a cable package again because one company is like distributing everything. So you're going to pay whatever they're making you pay to get it all. But
I mean, that's what I expect to happen at some point, because we have all these streaming services. They're all just going to continue to charge more money, and I feel like they're all losing money. So
I mean, I'd have to really think about it, and there's probably stuff that I'd miss, but like I paid like around $10 a month for Netflix, and I get all the WWE Raw shows plus all the actual content on that platform. I have the bundle for like whatever it is, like around 30 or something, that gets me Disney Plus, ESPN, and Hulu, which includes like Always Sunny, a lot of currently the UFC fight nights, all that stuff. Like most of the stuff I need right there. So we're at like $40. I pay for, well, actually, no, MLB TV is free because I have T-Mobile. Apple TV Plus is free because I have T-Mobile. So like there's probably some other services here. IWTV, which that's a totally different thing. And I have a promo code also for that web. So like I'm not paying hardly anything for that. So it's like Triller TV Plus I get reimbursed for. So like I'm really not paying that much. Like I'm paying maybe $50-$60 is the price of stuff I'm forgetting about a month for like everything. And when soon that's going to include, I don't think I mentioned Paramount Plus, but I do pay for that as well. So that's like $10. But now I'm getting all the UFC pay-per-views on that too, plus all the South Park. And also another thing with Paramount that I didn't mention is their relationship with the UFC now. Like Paramount's like a massive movie conglomerate too. Like they could maybe help them put together some really cool like packages to help build the fighters and stuff, maybe. Like, you know, kind of like when WWE started this relationship with like TKO, and they started putting together like the movie, like the cinematic movie trailer style stuff for like Roman and Cody. Like we need more of that kind of stuff for the UFC. It got way too like paint by numbers in recent years, where like all the athletes had to like wear the same uniforms, and the sport got kind of bland, and way too many fights and not enough stars. And hopefully they can like turn the corner now with this new deal and like kind of refresh things. That'd be nice as an MMA fan.
I don't know if we'll see Paramount helping with the movies when it comes to that, but
just an idea.
Yeah, I get it. All right, let's go to the indie spotlight.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Rich Swan, he's back in TNA, but he also won the Jerry Lynn Invitational, which was put on by Revolver Wrestling, the first, I maybe annual, but the first Jerry Lynn Invitational. He defeated Alan Angels in the main event. Jerry Lynn was the special referee for the match. He defeated Ninja Mac in the semifinals, and he beat BDE, Brandon Oakley, and Jake Christ in the first round, which was a 4-way match. But thoughts on the tournament and Rich Swan winning the tournament?
Yes, congratulations to Rich Swan. I'm gonna circle back to that in just a second. I did want to mention for the other spotlight real quick, just for anybody who cares, which is very few people, I'm sure. NWA 77 is coming up, and the only reason I'm really plugging this is because I like Thrillbilly Silas Mason, the guy who's going after the title against Tom Latimer, and like I really hope that he actually wins the title. Like they made this big deal with Roku. I feel like nobody cares. No one's really paying attention.
No
it really
motion.
hasn't helped them. It hasn't yet. It's not. But like there are still some talents like Kenzie Page. I love Kenzie, and I hope that she can. Like I hope that they can like build around people like Kenzie and Silas. But I just wanted to bring that up because like the brand itself, I know people have a bunch of feelings about, and the Roku thing and the buzz and them having to keep moving platforms and all this stuff. But like there are some really good talents there and people that like do deserve like some love from the wrestling fans. And I do want to see Thrillbilly Silas beat Tom Latimer for the title. I think that'd be really cool. So I just wanted to throw that out there just because I didn't want to forget about it. I'll cover that on the weekend or once I have the results for that. The Jerry Lynn Invitational, very cool concept. Wrestling Revolver in general is a super high quality, high production, independent promotion. If people, if you're unfamiliar with the company, they're on Triller TV Plus. They're a part of the monthly live package. I'm not endorsed or sponsored to tell you to sign up for the package, but like if you want to watch GCW, for instance, you can sign up just to watch GCW for like $10 a month or whatever. And you're also going to get these Revolver shows and a whole bunch of other stuff that I cover over on the Weekender. I thought that Rich Swan winning this thing was a lot of fun. The matches were all really good. Even like the non-tournament matches and stuff, like it was a really good 2-show event. It was cool seeing Jerry Lynn before the first show started. Like he came out to the ring and like put over the wrestlers, like this current generation of wrestlers and stuff like that. And then like you mentioned, he was the special referee for the main event between Rich Swan and Alan Angels. The finish was cool too because Alan Angels towards the end of the match hits a cradle pile driver, which of course is the signature move of Jerry Lynn, and Rich Swan kicks out at 2 from it, but then he kind of like gets in Jerry Lynn's face, which opens it up for Rich Swan to hit his own cradle pile driver. So Rich Swan paying homage as well to Jerry Lynn. And then he hit his second rope 450 splash, which is always so impressive. Most of the time in wrestling, I feel like, we give more love to the top rope move because obviously like they're, coming off the top. It usually looks a little more impressive. They're higher up in the air and that kind of stuff. But like, there's something also really impressive to not have as much time to like get the move off. And Rich Swan does, second rope 450s. He does second rope Phoenix splashes and stuff like that. Which makes him just like a little bit different, which is cool too. Speaking of guys that are different, you mentioned Ninja Mac. He was one of the opponents for Rich Swan. Ninja Mac advanced over Dante Leon and Gringo Loco in the tournament. Ninja Mac won the match with like a Trouble in Paradise kick, but he's mainly known for the Phoenix Splash 630. He's like the only guy in the game right now, I think, that's doing that move. I'm sure there's other people that can do it, but Ninja Mac's the only one who's like consistently actually using it. I just want to give him a shout out too. We had Ninja Mac on the show like years ago, and he's done a lot since then. We actually try to catch up with him. That'd be a good interview. Catch up with Ninja Mac. He's like done a bunch of excursions and stuff since we talked to him. But it's cool, like that match in particular, because Ninja Mac, Dante Leon, and Gringo Loco are 3 guys that like they've been in the game for a while, but I became way more aware of the 3 of them like during the pandemic area because they would all wrestle each other either in like tag team matches or scramble matches or like one-on-one, some sort of combination of those 3 a lot in like Loco wrestling and stuff like the Texas area. So it's cool like because they've wrestled each other 1,000 times, these 3 guys, but they always knock it out of the park. So yeah, that's pretty much I would recommend people check out Revolver just in general. Like Iron Beat's their champion. He's doing a great job. he retained his title over Brick Savage, Gringo Loco, and Jake Chris on night 2 of this show. They also helped out Killer Kelly on one of the nights. I think it was night 1. Yeah, it was night 1 over Katie Arquette. He came in and hit a 450 off the top to help Killer Kelly beat Katie Arquette. So I'd recommend checking out Revolver if you guys haven't already. It's over on Triller TV Plus. Congratulations to Rich Swan for winning the tournament.
Revolver is we talk about it a lot on In the Weeds, but it's one of the most consistent independent shows out there. And this was a kind of 2-day. It wasn't necessarily it was a 2-part event.
Right. I keep thinking it was 2 days, but yeah, it was all one day.
Yeah, it was there was part 1 in the afternoon and then part 1 in the evening. So different, obviously, than a 2-night kind of event. But I've seen the main event. That's all I was able to catch from the show was the main event. So I need to go back and probably watch the rest of the show. Yeah,
it was a good one. The main event of the first show was Cruel over Dick Myers, and they had essentially a death match. It wasn't as bloody, I guess, as a traditional death match. But the finish of that one was Cruel put him through a door bridge covered in barbed wire with a scorched earth and stuff. So y'all know I love me some Cruel. That's a whole other conversation, Cruel and MLW, because I don't know if you saw last week, what I was referring to, them fighting through the arena and off the building and all that stuff.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, it's just how long is it going to be for Cruel? Are they going to actually fumble this? The dude's had a Money in the Bank basically this whole time and can't figure out a way to cash it. Anyways,
yeah,
I love Cruel. That's not his fault.
Yeah, we shall see what they if they're able to get there with him. All right, Justin.
Yes.
Anything else we need to hit on?
Yeah, real quick. I doubt that he's still in here, but I saw a guy called El Juggalo in the chat earlier. Whoop Whoop, he mentioned. I'm going to throw in a nice little run with the hatchet to you. He asked our thoughts on JCW versus GCW. That is going to be going on. They've been at war for a while now, with the actual events are airing. I think the first one is tonight of the 2-day war. But I'll be covering that for anyone who cares, and if Juggalo is still in the chat, on the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. It'll probably be on Monday, possibly on Sunday, but at the very latest by Monday night for y'all. I will make sure to give my full thoughts. I'll read out all the results for JCW, GCW. And we're talking Juggalo Championship Wrestling, for those of you who might not know, because, of course, there's also Jersey Championship Wrestling, which is the sister promotion of Game Changer Wrestling. So it gets a little confusing. Also, just really quickly want to congratulate Aaron Rourke, who won the Vacation Land Cup this past weekend also. That was over at Limitless Wrestling. Our friend John Alba involved with that company as well. A friend of the show. I've always liked John. And
we love John.
Yeah, we love John. Good dude. And he this all comes full circle. He hooked us up with Channing Thomas a while back for an interview. And on this same show on Vacation Land, Channing Thomas actually wound up losing the championship. He had held it for, let me see how many days. It had to have been over 200 days. Willis Wrestling. Sorry, I'm trying to use Cage Match real quick. Channing Thomas, right at 203 days. Channing Thomas was the Limitless champion. He dropped the title to Desmond Cole in the middle of the show, which I did not expect. Desmond, great person to put the title on. Nothing against him. Super talented. Looking forward to Desmond's run with the Limitless title. But a big part of the reason that I think they did it in the middle of the show is because the main event was the Hardys. It was Matt and Jeff Hardy versus Swipe Right. So the title match was in the middle of the show, but that was what kind of threw me off about it. Channing's the 2-time champion, but this most recent run, once again, over 200 days. And then I don't think anyone expected him to just drop the title in the middle of the show. But he did. So congratulations to Desmond Cole, and shout out to Channing Thomas. Two talented dudes there. But yeah, I'd recommend checking out Limitless Wrestling as well, everybody. that's available over on independentwrestling.tv, and you can use code Fight Talk over there. That lets the platform know that I sent you their way.
There you go. All right, Jensen, anything else?
That's pretty much it. Follow me on X at Fight Talk _. Fight Plus Life Weekender podcast. Most likely going to be Monday nights until the foreseeable future. And I'll work on getting some more interviews for this show in upcoming weeks as well. Appreciate y'all for joining the chat. Good to see you, Jeremy, and Skull Vikings.
There you go. I'm sure we'll have plenty of football talk in the coming weeks as the season actually begins. Appreciate you as always, Jensen. We'll be back next week with a new episode of Spotlight. I'll be back tomorrow morning in the weeds with Joel Pearl, who is traveling. I guess we'll have to talk about TNA or something.
Is that where he's going?
No, he's going to C4.
C4's
nice. Got their Fighting Back show, so he's going to that.
Hell yeah.
That'll be a good time. Yeah, all the super chats from In the Weeds this week are going to Canadian Cancer Research Society. So if you are listening to this, you want to check out In the Weeds tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, all super chats are going to Canadian Cancer Research Society.
That reminds me, speaking of Canadian wrestlers, we didn't mention Evil Uno, and they just did like the longest match of all time. So do you know what platform C4 is gonna? Are they doing live, or do you know where they're gonna be airing?
Let me check.
Because I think that they jump around.
Yeah, I feel like they're typically on Twitch now, but
maybe they're on YouTube also.
Let's see. It doesn't have anything about the streaming. It just has kind of their socials and everything. I feel like a lot of their Fighting Back events are usually on a delay as well. So yeah, it doesn't say what it doesn't say like where they are airing, and they have like just their social stuff, but it doesn't have any type of streaming announcement on here.
Well, that's okay. I was just going to say that on the Weekender, if I get the results from Joel, or if the show has aired, I'll either give you spoilers for that show, or I will give you the results if it's already aired.
There you go. All right, so we'll be back tomorrow with In the Weeds. Jensen and I will be back next week. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. Talk to y'all later on. Bye, everyone.